Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So this here is a painting I've been doing. It's an acrylic painting that I've been working on in the past, I'd say month or so, maybe even a little bit more. And today I want to finish it up. So as you can see, I've laid a bit more than the foundation, and I want to work on the foreground here with this thing I have actually never used. So let's see how it works. This is gloss heavy gel acrylic from Liquitex, and I'm going to use it to create some texture in the foreground and to bring the foreground more to the foreground and bring kind of a 3D texture to the foreground. So I'm going to use this here to protect my table and put this on top. And now, I don't know, actually, I have no idea how to really use that, but you can actually mix it with some colors already. So it's the first time I'm using it. So let's first open it. And I was planning on using it without color first to just create texture here, like with a palette knife. And then, where is my palette knife? Here it is. And then once this is dry, put the texture on top. So I really hope I'm not messing this up. And before starting this new experiment, let's rewind a little bit and look at the process of how I created this first. So it all started with a blank canvas. Obviously, this is a 30 by 40 centimeters canvas board, and I'm using also my Stay Wet palette, which allowed me to work on several sessions on this canvas with the same colors and the same mixes. So to start with, I just wet the whole canvas with clear water, and then I put some colors, like you say, very randomly on top, and I blend them with dry fluffy brush. This is a makeup brush actually, and it helps me to create a really nice and smooth background with lots of blending of colors. Here I've turned upside down my canvas because I realized I had it on the wrong side because I had some texture with the gesso. I've pre-gessoed the canvas and I wanted the texture to be at the bottom and they were at the top, so I had to flip the canvas and try to recreate the colors I wanted. So it turned out to be a little bit more muddy than what I hoped for, because my sky was a bit less clear than what I wanted. But yeah, somehow it still turned out quite well. So the first two layers, I'd say, I really used this technique of putting down some colors and blending them a lot. I really have troubles blending with acrylics, so I take my time for these first layers to really blend in and use the dry brush and just try to get the foundation in a place where I like them. And then I start adding some darker colors to block some of the shapes. You can see the beach in the foreground, the line for the horizon where the boats will be, the structure on the left. So yeah, here you can see some close-ups of me working on the boat. So there has been a long painting session of the first shapes before this session here. So basically I spent, I think, 2 sessions on the background and then a long session putting the first shapes. So this is what you've seen here. And the session you are seeing now is like the one after, where I added some details and some more texture. So you can see how slow it actually is, because when I put the time lapse, it always looks like it goes super fast, but it's actually very slow. And I'm using quite watered down acrylic because my Stay Wet palette makes it quite runny and watered down. So I kind of glaze several layers on top of the other until I get the right color and the right texture that I like. And then I do some dry brush also on top to get the colors that I want. And here you can see that it's not my reference photo anymore, but a picture of the painting actually. And I've used digital art to fix some things. So like the perspective was a bit off, the wall on the left was a bit off, the roof was not going in the right direction. So I've twist it and change things digitally, and then I used this as a reference to go back to the painting and make these changes. So I still had also the photograph as a reference for some of the details, but the big shapes I had on my digital painting rendition. So it helped me to fix some of the other perspectives, some of the details, because I could flip the canvas also, which makes it really nice to see what is looking off a little bit. But yeah, this was like, it took me a really long time to get to a place where I was happy with all the details, because there are so many things happening here. There are so many layers, like for each of the, like for the roof, I think, or for I think the worst was the wall. There are like, I don't know, more than 10 colors that I just swept on top of the other, and then used some dry brush and created some textures. And for each boat, I tried to add a lot of details. So it was by far my most ambitious and detailed painting. And I'm not really good at doing details with acrylics, so I took it really slow and went back into it and just tried to have this big project on the side of other projects to go there and take my time on it. But yeah, this is how it looks like. Okay, so while you were looking at how I've created this painting, I've kind of succeeded in opening this up. I'm going to use the things that's here. And this is how it looks like, and it's super thick. It has a very weird texture. So if I have really no idea. I really hope I'm not ruining this. If I take this and just, oh gosh, that's so cool. And just apply some texture there, like so. So my idea here would be to have really some kind of rocky, weird texture, a bit abstract. So I'm going very thick with the palette knife. I'm putting some here on my palette knife, like so. And I'm just putting it down here. So everywhere where I want to have more ground and to build up my textures. So the whole foreground here, a little bit more up here, I'd say. And I guess then I'm gonna leave this to dry for some time. And once it is dry, I'm not sure if it dries like transparent or if it keeps some of its texture. I have no idea, so this is going to be an experiment here. And once this is more dry, I'm gonna start applying a bit of paint on top. So I'm building up the texture for the whole thing and trying to make it a bit thinner once we're less in the foreground. So the foreground is very thick, and then I go for still texture but less texture. And I really like to put texture on my pieces. It's the first time I'm using this gel like that, but I've already, here if you can see, there is already some texture, and that's because I've used some gesso to gesso my canvas board before I used it. And when I'm doing that, I usually do it quite rough, so I don't try to have very smooth surface, and I like to keep some texture there. So yeah, that would be the first stage. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I have a guide here. So this here is my reference photo. So we really have quite a lot of texture going even to the side. But I think it's how it's done here. It's quite nice already. Maybe put it a little bit more thick in here, to the side here, like so. And then have it recede into the distance here. I'm trying also to work my perspective here. It's funny because for now it looks like there is a big wave going on here, which is kind of funny, I think. And I'm gonna put also a little bit of texture in the shoreline, because there will be like rocks and stuff happening here too. So I want to have a bit of that texture going up. I really love the texture you can achieve with a palette knife. It's such a funny tool. So let's put some more here to this side here. So yeah, that would be kind of the perspective. And this here is a guide I've made to kind of know where would be the shoreline. So let me just compare. I think it works quite well. Maybe I have too much texture in here, so let me scrape it out a little bit here and add some more to the real foreground here, and just have smaller textures happening here. Yeah, I think that's better. I think that kind of works. I'm not sure how it's gonna look like, and if I'm gonna be able to I'm not sure how this is gonna look like and if I would be able to create this rocky texture, but for now it looks fun. So I'm gonna leave this to dry and come back once it's drier. And I really want in a future project to use this paste to actually create wave effects. So do some pouring and then use this paste to create the waves. I think it will work super well. So I'm probably going to try that in a future project. So stay tuned if you want to see that. For now, I'm going to leave this to rest. And then I'm going to see how I'm going to paint on top of that. I know you can also like mix it with the colors you want to use and then directly create a colored textural thing, but I was not so sure how to go with it and how to create different mixes of colors and mix it with the gel. Maybe I should have some little pans where I can do that and then put it on top. If you have any ideas on kind of the logistics to do that, please let me know. And it's also so cool with this white thing. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm gonna paint this. I guess I will have to do some dry brush and stuff. I don't know, but we're gonna figure it out in the next step. So stay tuned. So this is after 1.5 days of letting it dry. To be fair, it was dry after 1 night or so, even maybe better before. And it dried completely transparent, as you can see. I'm not sure if you can see the texture. It does a really nice wave texture, actually. I'm not sure how it's gonna look as rock texture. I'm not completely sure how to go from there, but I have my palette knife, I have my paints, my paint brushes here, I have my paints to the side, and I guess I'm just gonna go for it somehow. I have my reference photo also to the side here. So yeah, I'm just gonna, sorry for the noise, I'm just gonna try. Maybe next time I will do it more as expected with the colors directly into the gel, but I just wanted to see what would happen. So I think I'm gonna start with this like long and thin brush, and let me take my colors out. I'm gonna need some really dark colors. So here I have a neutral gray and a paint gray. This is more warm, this is more cool. So I would definitely need those. And then if I look at the, if I look at the reference, there is a lot of this yellow ochre also that is super nice. I think I'm gonna try to start with these 3 ones and see if I need something else. And some white, of course. You always need some white. So white, warm, dark, cool, dark, and yellow ochre. Really like yellow ochre. Beautiful color. And I'm using this thing here, this transparent thing. I don't really like it because it's always so difficult to, how you call that? To clean it. I had to scrape it and then, I don't know, it's just not a really nice way to clean things. But I'm gonna start by mixing a bit of this dark here with some white and some yellow ochre, I think, and see if I can start to give some shape to this place. I don't want to lose all the background color also with more, I can't open my white. It's always the most difficult one to open up. Yeah, so I was saying my background with more of the purplish tones. I want to keep some of that. So as see, and I will try to follow a bit the texture and somehow make the texture show more if I can. I'm really unsure what I'm doing and how I'm doing it here. But let's try something. So let's take some of this, and a bit of this. That creates this dirty greenish color, and I think it's going to be really nice for some of the rocks. So I'm trying somehow to find rocks in the shapes that I've created with the gel, because of course because there is so much texture, the colors don't apply everywhere in the same way. So I'm trying to utilize this to create some rock shapes. And we'll see if it ends up being nice or completely catastrophic. And I'm adding more of this color everywhere because it's a really not really nice, but I think it works really well for this rock and algae color type of thing. So I'm even adding it where there is not so much texture because it just creates the right type of color that I wanted for here. And I will add just some pops of brighter color here and there. And it's fun because I can just like scrape on the texture. It's a very interesting thing. It creates texture that I would never thought to make. So yeah, let's see what I managed to do with that. I'm very much experimenting right now, as you may see. As you may have gathered from my inconsistent talking. I want some darker stones in the foreground also. So here I'm going to go with a darker mix to create some of these stones. And also I'm not super sure how detailed I want this foreground to be, because it was supposed to be more of a abstract thing using this gel. But because I've used it in such a weird way, I'm not sure if it will create this abstracty feeling I wanted to go for. So yeah, I don't know yet what is going to happen with the piece. But what is sure is that this foreground needed some more attention, and that's what I'm working on right now. So I'm gonna add some of this Payne's Gray also, with a bit of white inside. And use this to define some shapes again. So it's the same idea. For now, I'm just trying to find out some of the shapes and to define some of the shapes, and I will see afterwards how I make them pop more. I I think it will need some highlights somehow and things like that, but I will see. I'm experimenting. And I'm just trying to be very gentle with how I'm using my brush so that it picks some of this texture that I've put with the gel. So I really want to utilize all this texture. Just need to remember where there is texture actually. It's a bit like when you've written a secret message and then you try to revive it with graphite to see it again. So yeah, very gentle sweeping movement and trying to put lots of different colors here to play a little bit with this rocky feeling and emphasize the different types of rocks that they are here. And on the foreground where the texture is more defined in a way, I'm also feeling in between the bumps. Not sure how clear it is what I'm saying. But like depending on the type of texture, I'm only trying to cover the 3D parts, and some I'm trying to cover also in between the 3D parts to have the rocks come to life. If it makes sense. I hope it does somehow. And I hope it turns out looking like something also. It's crazy, I feel like I'm just making things appear. That's so fun actually. Okay, I want some brighter yellows in some places. Like here, 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 and a bit on the top of these things and on the edges. I'm going also to put some white on some of those. They're so interesting, the things that it's creating. The thing I really don't like with acrylic is how fast it dries. This is so frustrating. Okay, I'm going to put a bit of pure white in some places where there is more light. So like here, here, and a little bit here. And then some white and yellow. To check if there is some texture I haven't painted on yet. I think it's making a really funny thing. I really like it actually. I'm just making some of the rocks a bit more, I won't say defined, but make a bit more sense in my mind at least. This is looking pretty good. I don't want to overwork it because, like I said, this part is supposed to be a more abstract part of the painting. So I really want to play with this texture and not overdo it and lose the interest of the texture. But I still want to have a variety to represent the variety of the pebbles. that there was on this thing, on this beach. Okay, not bad. I think I'm gonna call it done. This was a surprisingly fun and quick process to finish this painting. I mean, it's just an experimentation, so obviously it's not like super rendered or anything, but this was a really fun experimentation, and it makes me want to try some new things with this gel also. And maybe next time use it even more in the piece or in a more thoughtful way. And making this texture just reappear with colors is such a nice process. You just sweep your brush across and some texture will appear. It's kind of crazy actually. Okay, I will stop messing around with it because I'm just gonna do some stuff I'm gonna regret after. So yeah. I think I just need to push some of these colors more down so that it feels like I finished the painting and did not stop in the middle of it. I don't want to do it everywhere because some places it's normal that it's not the same color here, but some places I think need to be colored like that. Otherwise it looks a bit unfinished. Yes, something like that. I need to rinse this here. So this is my beautiful palette of colors. I put too much of some colors, but I don't want to mess around just because I still have some colors. I should not have done these little rocks here and there. And I don't know if you can still see it, but there is a hair somewhere in here that got trapped by the gel. So yeah, those are some close-ups of the more realistic part. I tried to put a little bit of white to create some no, like that is how some of my hairs got stuck into it. And this is the more abstract part here at the front. And I really love how this painting's turned out as a whole. Let me know in the comments what you think and how you're using your acrylics. I'm still very new to acrylics. I've started only a few, I'd say maybe last year I've started acrylics for the first time really. And I have a limited collection of acrylics so far, but I'm loving, and I've discovered quite late that you could use different types of gels and everything. So yeah, this is my first experimentation with the heavy gel, and I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comments any tips you have with acrylics, with the different medium you can use with acrylics, and some fun things we can do there. And I would be really glad to try them in some next videos. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!